Hey everybody, this is Matt from Matt Fitness, and welcome to a new video. As you can tell, I have a new microphone I just picked up, so hopefully the sound quality will be a little bit better than before. It's always amazing the little details that you can get into, especially when you're recording videos and you kind of want to be a little more professional with your sound and your audio and your video and your editing. So I just picked up this really good camera, this microphone, which plugs into the camera directly and it kind of runs right up to my shirt here. I can hold it. So anyways, to get started, today I'm going to basically go over a few myths, common myths in bodybuilding, fitness, and nutrition in general. These myths are just kind of spread like rampant and people still believe them, believe it or not, regardless of how ridiculous they still may sound. The first thing is that muscle and fat can turn into one another. So fat can turn into muscle, or muscle can turn into fat. So people tend to think that if you have a large amount of fat, you can convert that fat into muscle, and if you have a large amount of muscle and then you let yourself go, you can inversely convert that muscle into body fat. And that cannot happen any more than you cannot convert one type of element to another. You cannot convert gold into silver. You cannot convert a rock into a hot dog. They're basically two completely things. They're two different types of body cells. They have different functions in the body. You cannot convert one to the other. You can simply reduce the amount of body fat you have, and as well as increase the amount of muscle mass you have to recomposition your body. So in the end, your body will end up with a different type of composition, but you cannot convert one to the other directly. It does not happen. The second one, doing abdominal crunches to build abdominals and actually have them show through. Absolutely false. Once again, you cannot spot reduce fat from any specific area of your body. If you have fat under your underarms, if you have fat in your thighs or in your buttocks or over your abdominals, by doing exercises to the muscle groups directly underneath those areas will not immediately remove the body fat above them. Now they will burn calories, but those calories are minimal during the exercise and will take them from everywhere through the body. Doing any sort of ab work or crunch work will actually build the muscle structure underneath the body fat. But when it comes to losing body fat, you still need a daily caloric restriction from or a daily calorie deficit created from calorie restriction in your diet, as well as increasing your overall activity throughout the day. By creating that, you create a larger deficit. The larger deficit you create, quicker the fat loss will come off. The smaller deficit, the slower the fat loss will come off. If you create a surplus, which means you eat more calories, you consume more, you take in more energy into your body than your body is using, you will actually start storing that energy. Your body does not waste any energy whatsoever. Anything that comes in excess is stored in the form of body fat, and which can be used in the event of a famine, or if there's a shortage of energy, your body then taps into reserves. This is an evolutionary adaptation that your body has, that our bodies have adapted over thousands and thousands and millions of years to be that way in order to ensure survival. This is a survival mechanism. You cannot go around this. You cannot beat this. There's no way you can try to spot reduce or pick and choose where you want the fat to come off. The fat comes off evenly throughout the whole body. It's like a swimming pool. There's a deep end, there's a shallow one. As the water lowers down through the bottom of the pool, you'll notice that the shallow end will expose itself before the deep end. Just like in your body, some areas have thicker amounts of fat, some areas have more shallow amounts of fat. This is all determined by your genetics. Pretty much your genetics, and you cannot control where it's going to and where it's coming from. It's just going to come. You gotta have faith, create the daily calorie deficit, maintain that as long as possible, and eventually the body fat will come off from all areas of the body, and eventually the area that you also want it to come off. You need protein, and you need food every 3 hours or multiple times per day. Is also false. This has been proven in multiple studies that not eating for multiple periods, for multiple hours throughout the day, or eating often does not make a difference on your total metabolic rate, so which means you'll still burn the same amount of energy in a 24-hour period, whether or not you are eating every hour or every 6 hours. You could have your calories spaced out 6 meals. You could have your calories spread out for 1 or 2 or 3 meals. It doesn't matter, as long as at the end of the day you're getting a certain amount of calories in, and you're getting all your macronutrients, your protein, your carbohydrates, your fat. It doesn't matter when you get it. You can eat all your calories before bed if you want. This also goes into the myth of eating before bed, eating carbs before bed. It doesn't matter. It doesn't all get converted into fat. Your body uses the energy. And let's say even in the event that your body does take that energy and stores a higher percentage of it as body fat when you sleep, if you're taking in a certain amount of energy in a 24-hour period, eventually your body will have to tap into energy reserves if you're in a calorie deficit. And the energy has to come from somewhere eventually. And what I'm saying is it doesn't matter when you take your calories in. What matters is that you take in a certain amount of calories in a 24-hour cycle. Toning, lifting heavy weights build muscle, and lifting lots of weights builds toning your muscle, right? Toning is a bullshit word. It means absolutely nothing. You hear people throwing this word around all the time. When they say it, they are referring to the fact that they want muscles which are well defined. To have muscles which are well defined, A, you have to have a lower level of body fat so you could actually see the muscle, and B, you have to have decent muscular development, which means you have to have some muscle there, right? So by doing a combination of both heavy resistance training, proper nutrition, as well as dieting, and through caloric restriction, you can reduce the fat and you can build the muscle underneath it, therefore resulting in a look called toning, right? Which I'm not going to use ever again because toning is a dumb word, but you will end up with a defined and muscular look. Now, whether or not you can do that at the same time determines whether or not you're a beginner or if you're a seasoned lifter. When you start lifting, you'll be able to do both at the same time. You'll be able to lose muscle as well as burn fat. If you are a little bit more experienced in the area of bodybuilding, lifting weights, and fitness, and you've been doing it for a while, you will have a lot of hard time doing that. Therefore, you might have to break it out into phases. You may have to. This is why a lot of fitness people and bodybuilders tend to go in phases where they are going a 12 to 16 week cut, and their focus is actually losing body fat and maintaining muscle. Or they're on a bulk whereby they're trying to put on some muscle mass, as well, inevitably with some fat. And the funny thing about that is when you actually lose fat, you also inevitably lose a small amount of muscle. The whole key is to actually minimizing the amount of muscle that you do lose during that phase, so that a good 95% of that weight loss is from body fat. So in the end, you end up recompositioning your body. So we're talking about recompositioning your body here, which is a combination of losing body fat and building muscle. In the end, that's it. There's no such thing as toning. Carbohydrates are bad. Carbohydrates are no different than any other macronutrient. They contain energy within. Protein contains energy, carbs contain energy, and fat contains energy. Now, there's a difference between the three types of macronutrients. Fat contains 9 calories per gram, so per gram volume of food content, you'll get 9 calories. Protein and fat, you'll get 4 calories per gram per food volume. Now, you get more bang for your buck in energy than fat. Therefore, cutting back some fat in your diet is smart. Therefore, you can eat a little more food, which is why a lot of fitness people and people who are doing nutrition tend to cut back their fat a little bit because it allows them to take in more food with less calories. But when it comes down to it, it doesn't matter if you have carbs, proteins, or fat, they all contain energy. If you eat too much of any of those macronutrients, you will gain body fat. If you eat a calorie deficit by cutting out any of those areas, any of those macronutrients, carbs, proteins, or fat, as long as you have a daily calorie deficit, you will still be dropping body fat. There's no question about it. Carbs themselves are not bad. If you can eat too many calories worth in protein or fats as well, and your body will take them, and your body is very versatile in its ability to take food and convert it into energy. So it'll take anything it can and convert it. It doesn't matter. The difference between carbohydrates is that carbohydrates is used as more of an immediate energy source. It does break down quicker in your bloodstream into usable glucose energy. That is true, as well as into glycogen for your muscles to use, which is stored in your liver as well. And this is why a lot of sports trainers and coaches have their athletes kind of consume a lot of large carbohydrates before events and whatnot, the night before events, because all that energy is kind of buffered up in the body, and it's used for immediate energy. If you cut your carbs too low, you won't have enough energy to go to the gym, to get a hard workout on, to burn calories, to get that total daily net calorie deficit, or have enough energy in the gym to properly put the weights up and stimulate your muscle. Therefore, your workouts will suffer. Therefore, you'll have less muscular development and progressive overload, and as your muscle gets stronger, you break it down the muscle tissue. So you won't be able to hit them as hard if you're not getting enough carbohydrates, so your workouts will suffer. Therefore, I don't recommend cutting your carbohydrates too low, but like I said, carbohydrates is no worse than a fat, a protein, or any other macronutrient. Carb is a carb. Don't eliminate them. Not evil when it comes to gaining fat. Women shouldn't lift weights because they'll get really bulky. Women cannot get bulky unless they're on some sort of hormonal support, such as anabolic steroids or some sort of testosterone, because they don't have the hormonal profile to support that muscle growth. Testosterone is used in the body to determine how much muscle mass is on the frame. Therefore, a woman who does not have a huge amount of testosterone, or even close to that of a man, will not be putting on massive amounts of muscle tissue. If you pick up a weight, the most you will build muscle. It won't be a huge amount of muscle. Over the course of the years, you can build more muscle, obviously, as a woman. But what I'm saying is, you're not going to immediately turn into the Hulk. It does not happen. It doesn't happen for men. It happens over the course of many, many years as concentrated effort with diet, training, and nutrition in order to build a large amount of muscle. So women shouldn't be afraid of lifting weights when it comes to when it comes to health and fitness, because at most you're going to reap all the benefits of resistance training, which is strengthened bones, improved health, better blood flow, benefits that you'll reap without having to be afraid of bulking up, because you're not going to bulk up. Just like a man is not going to bulk up overnight either, and a man isn't going to get big as Arnold Schwarzenegger either, right? Because the hormones simply aren't there. And then not to mention, on top of that, it takes years and years of effort and concentrated effort in order to actually become very large on a muscular scale. Drinking a lot of water. Yeah, you have to drink a certain amount of water. I absolutely agree. There's been a lot of things thrown around which state that people need to drink an arbitrary amount of water based off their body weight. I think it's a few ounces per pound or something like that. I'll put it in the description below what they're saying. But the study recently has stated that, determined that by taking a group of people and having them force feed themselves water essentially led to a point where their brain actively refused the water. So the more water they drank, the less pleasurable the experience was, and the brain actually began shutting off the mechanism which kind of triggers the swallowing mechanism automatically. Therefore, the more water they drink, as they drank more and more and more water, it became progressively harder for them to swallow, so they had to put more manual effort into the swallowing response. So in order to get that, in order to prove that water kind of is something which is auto-regulated by your brain, your brain will tell you when you're thirsty. This study basically proved it straight up, that you need to drink only when you're thirsty, and then, you know, I even say drink more than that. So there's no need to force feed your water down your throat. Now, if you want to drink lots of water, and that's something that you can do and you can fit into your schedule, and you can live with drinking, a jug or two of water in a day. You see these people carrying down these water jugs around with them. I think it's absolutely ridiculous, and that, you know, they got to drink a certain amount up to the line. I think that's ridiculous, and I don't think that's maintainable. I don't think anyone can do that, you know, for any large amount of time. I mean, maybe a few months at most, right? If you can do that for 5-10 years, and hey, kudos to you, and you enjoy doing it, then go ahead. But there's no need to force feed yourself that. Drinking all that water will not accelerate fat loss. It still comes down to the calorie deficit. Drinking all that water will just end up you having to go to the bathroom more and more often, right? And not to mention that, you know, it's just inconvenient, you know. So drink when you're thirsty, and drink a little more than that even, but don't force feed yourself down. It's not healthy. That's not healthy for that. Big bone people. This is another thing. People saying around that, yeah, I have big bones. You know, like big bones is like, and if you ask me, is another way of saying I have excuses. I have big bones. I can't control my bones. Therefore, I'm going to be as large as I can. I'm not going to exercise. I'm not going to control my dietary intake, right? So when it comes to saying you're big bone, it's just another bullshit excuse that people say. There's no such thing as someone who has big bone. Look at my wrists, for example. My wrists are relatively small, right? And I think most people wrists aren't that large. I mean, you may have some people with a larger bone structure. Now, people, for example, that which may be taller. Me being only 5'10", I have a relatively modestly sized bone structure. My waist is extremely small. Like I wear 29-inch jeans right now, and probably 28 inches once I'm done this cut. Very small hips, and I'm assuming a lot of people have scalably similar type proportions as myself. Everyone's a little bit different, but there's no such thing as someone which has Neanderthal type bones. We're all Homo sapiens. We are confined to the certain limits within our genetic code. Therefore, no one's big bone, and that's not contributing to the fat. The fat is contributing from eating too many calories and not exercising enough. Period. Okay, so that kind of summarizes it up. There's a gazillion other myths out there which people have thrown around through the years. So I mean, if you feel like there's anything else you guys want me to cover or talk about, or if you have my opinion, feel free to put them in the description box below. I will do my best to give you guys my opinion and my thoughts on that. I look forward to putting some more videos out in the future, so please subscribe, like, and comment the video. The more subscriptions I get, the more likes I get, the more shares I get. The video helps the channel, it helps grow the channel, it helps me put better content out for you guys. So that being said, have a great day. It is 6:08 in the morning. I got up really early, went to bed late. Actually, I went to bed pretty early last night, 9:30. So I'm gonna go hit the gym. No excuses. Keep going, guys. Talk to you next time.